Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Hey folks, John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the place, the home, the podcast to help you find your best, most true, authentic business voice. Heck, find your best, most true voice, period. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results, meet the person of your dreams, make billions of dollars. All right, we ain't guaranteeing those last two quite yet, but the fact is all the rest of them I feel quite confident about. And one of the main reasons I feel good about the fact that we get to move that needle forward is because we bring people on here who walk the walk. Thank you for continuing to like, follow, share, tell your friends. We love every single bit of it, whether you're watching or listening or both. That part's great, right? But in the meantime, I meant what I said. We got somebody very cool on today who has walked the walk. This person I had the pleasure of meeting based upon a group that we happen to be aligned with. And I think the story is damn cool too. So we've got a strategic business coach, a performance coach, somebody who has created a system blueprint for business owners, helps them create freedom, profit, and impact in their business. And why wouldn't you want that? And in the meantime, it has a heck of a story to tell. Richard Walsh, thank you for showing up for me, man.
John, so good to be here. I'm excited for this.
Me too. Me too. One of the things that I think about, man, is like I said, when I'm looking for people and going through information and stories and stuff, you and I talked before, and one of the things that matters to me so much is the story of what do you do in regards to resilience? How do you keep going and all that sort of thing? I love the blueprint of your business, and we will get to that. The time management, the time saving. I just think it's a beautiful thing. And I love the fact that beforehand, I'd love to know a little bit more about what brought you to that place, the creation of the business, as well as being able to live that personally. Talk to me about in terms, like I said, as a former Marine, all sorts of things that I am drawn to. I have no military except my dad was in the Navy. I just happen to like it. We got a former Marine. What was that like for you?
It was a challenge. It was good, challenged in a lot of different ways. But I think it was part of making who I am. I think when you get to a point where I love to be challenged. I actually, however odd this is, I enjoy suffering. Everything I've done, my sports have always been, it's been cross country. Every step is suffering. That's all there is to it. Okay, when you run a mile after mile, that's suffering. Then I went to the Marine Corps. That's suffering on a whole new level. Then I get out and become a boxer, became a champion boxer. That was suffering. Every day in the ring, getting beat up, if you will, getting punched in the face. And then from there, I did Taekwondo, became a black belt. That's suffering. A lot of training, a lot of hard training. And all during that time, from coming out of the Marine Corps, I'm building a business. That's
I love
suffering.
you saying the fact that you're like, I get beat up in boxing, if you will. I think it's very much you get beat up, and that's the beginning and end of the sentence, right?
Yes,
What pulled you into the Marines? I mean, obviously the few, the proud, but no one makes someone go. What? I like challenges. But what was it that pulled you there?
Well, the funny part of that is I tried to enlist when I was 13, John. I'm a big kid. I was like 6 foot 180, and I'm like, I'm going to the Marine Corps. I really wanted
13.
I'm
so
13.
It's like, I mean, so you're a 6 foot 1, 13-year-old kid.
Yeah. So I walk in and I'm like, I'm ready to go. And they're talking to me. They look at me. And the recruiter looks at me and goes, so how old are you? And I go, well, I'm 13, but I'm ready to go. They give me some stickers, said, you come back when you graduate high school, we'll get you right in. I'm like, oh man. Why
did you show up at 13 other than the fact that you were ready, so to speak?
Aside from like wanting to get out of my house, right? I kind of wanted to do something like that, but I'm drawn to that. What I didn't realize till really much later in life was my influence, and what really inspired me was guys who were putting their life on the line, right? Sacrificing for others,
Mhm.
doing the courageous thing. There's just something about that justice. There's a level of justice that appealed to me, that kind of became part of my makeup. So the Marine Corps to me was that exact thing. First to fight, all that,
Mhm.
the best
Mhm.
trained, the smallest force, all this stuff. I'm like, I want to be that. I want to be elite. I don't want to just be in an army. I want to be a Marine, and I want to do that, and the uniform's really cool too. So you get that.
And folks, no offense to anybody from the Army. It's listen again. We're like I said, we're equal opportunity here.
That's
But
right.
the fact is, but obviously the uniform is really cool. So you get, stickers and stickers and an attaboy, and we'll see you when you're 18. And you come back.
Yep. At 17, because I'm out of high school. I'm like, I'm going to go in now. So now I'm going to go. Actually, I was in line to go to college. It was a community college.
Right.
Had my schedule, had a check all written out, and I'm standing in line shuffling towards the sign up or whatever. So I'm looking around, John. I'm like, this ain't happening. No, I do not belong here.
Why?
I barely got through high school.
Okay.
Now I'm looking, thinking I'm going to go to college. I'm like, I can't. The look of it, it was like just being content. I'm like, I can't do it.
Okay.
I'm not a school learner. So I ripped my stuff up, my check, and threw it in the trash, went out and joined the Marine Corps. So then I went, well, I'll do that. And I went in that because, again, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I felt that was where I was called to go. And that's what I did. So that was, come back at 17, though, you have to have parental permission.
Yeah. So where are your folks in this decision-making process?
So I'm working at this golf course. I come into my 9 o'clock break and I dial up the recruiter, say, hey, I want to join the Marine Corps. Okay, well, what are you doing? I go, well, I'm working. He goes, what time do you get off? I go, 3 o'clock. He goes, see you at 3:15. It's like, okay, I'll see you then. Went in, did the ASVAB, did really well on that test. And okay, you can join, but hey, you need to take this home, get your mom to sign it. I'm like, okay, that might not go over really well.
Right.
Okay, because my mom said any branch except the Marines. My brother's in the Army, my older brother's in the Army.
Yeah.
My younger brother ended up going in the Air Force, obviously after I went in the Marine Corps. But
why
so
not the Marines for mom?
It's that whole first to fight. The Marines are out in front. They're going to die. All the whole stuff, right? They're the toughest and whatever. So the recruiter's like, well, we'll come over and talk to her. Okay. Now, so
just
two
like,
recruiters,
like Book of Mormon, or they just
exactly.
They're going to swing by the house.
Yes, I did that too. When I was a kid, but they came in, each one sat on each side of her on the couch, and John, they browbeat her for like 3 straight hours.
Oh my God.
And finally she's like, there's no greater salesman than the Marine Corps recruiter. None. They're the only ones even currently who are meeting all the recruiting goals. No other branches. Okay. They're just unbelievable. So she finally throws her hands up. Fine. She signs it, cries, goes in her bedroom, and I'm like, I'm in. She did it. So they left, and 2 weeks later, I'm gone. I'm shipping off the boot camp.
Right. So off you go.
Yep. Off I went. And, the fun began. It was awesome.
What were a couple of the more memorable experiences for you while you were there?
So basic was interesting because basic training is a head game. It's not physical. It is physical. You got to, but I was fit. I was an athlete. I can, whatever. That wasn't a problem. It's the mental games they play. Okay. Constantly on you. They will find every crack and every weakness that you have. Drill instructors are just trained, and they have that sixth sense to just whatever it is. Like mine was like, I could run better than I was better runner than everyone except our platoon guide, right? He could beat me a little bit, like in the 3 mile and stuff. So really good runner, but I didn't look like a runner. I'm a big kid. So there's one drill instructor, and he's just like, oh, you're running like that. You're fat. He just call you out. I'm like, well, okay, I can run, the private can run. So we're doing all this stuff. We get to the range, and here's the memorable moment. So I'm leaning down, I'm training, I'm one of the best, all this stuff. We're at the rifle range where they mellow out a little bit, but at night you do a hygiene inspection. So you're basically in your skivvies, and you have this, at that time we had a notebook, a little spiral mini notebook, had a long piece of string on it with a nail on it tied to it, right? And the nail was for adjusting your windage and elevation on your M16. That's how you clicked it and you turn. So that's your tool, right? Now that's
okay.
A nail. Okay, using a nail for that. But it's on this book, and it's a really long piece of string. So he's doing a hygiene inspection, and they look at your book for the day, see how you recorded your shots and everything else. So, and he starts swinging this nail, like swinging it by the string, and it's coming right for me. It's spinning. It's like, it's about, a quarter inch from my chest. And he's just looking at me. He's spinning this, just spinning. I'm like, just standing there at attention, and he's looking up and down and he's swinging and he goes, "You're still fat," and then he stops, goes to the next guy. But like, for me, that was like, it just kills you. They just know that stuff. And here, that was like 40 years ago, John, and I'm sitting there, I still think about it, I mean,
I was just saying, so I guess what I think about is, aside from how cruel that actually felt to me, and I wasn't there,
Right.
and it wasn't me, what are you supposed to do with that information? And like you said, 40 years later, you
Right.
can bring yourself back to that moment.
Yep.
And what you were or weren't wearing, and
Right.
all that stuff. But what are you supposed to do with that? I know allegedly it toughens you up. What does it do?
So it's called negative reinforcement. That's the
okay.
term for it. Okay. So,
Right.
and when you're in the Marine Corps, you have to thrive on negative reinforcement. And a very, very
Why?
small percentage of people can do it because that's how they train. Because
Okay.
you have to take the mental, I don't know if the word's abuse, but you have to take this, just the roughness of it because, and like I would always say, well, what if you're a POW? You think they're going to ask nicely? They're going to do things. You have to prepare yourself to endure pain and suffering. That's what you have to do. You have to train yourself. My son's going through all that now. He's in the Marine Corps. He's been through all this stuff. But you have to, but I thrive with it because that negative reinforcement makes me work harder.
Okay.
I don't crumble from it. I like push forward. Okay, I'll do more. I'll do it faster. I'll get leaner. I'll whatever. So for me, it ended up working for me, but I think they really understand that in the Corps, that's what hardens the guys to really endure the suffering that's coming.
Got it. So that, and by the way, the explanation helps me far more with that takeaway. By the way, it also, in terms of your own trajectory, I always have a hard time saying that word, so I have to literally slow myself down, which is embarrassing. But the fact is, the trajectory of going from there, and then you become a boxer and taekwondo and all that, and what have you. I would imagine, and running a business. So you had a lot of toughening up experience. You're calling these things challenging, a lot of toughening things up. You're back home and you're kind of rolling at this point, and you're tougher. Just ask you, you're tougher, and and the one swinging the tack or whatever, the nail, the visual. Where did that take you in regards to what were you able to do with that? What were you able to do with that information once you got home?
Well, I'd apply it because and I learned this over decades too, even more so, that you take any hard thing you did and you've been through, and then when you're going through the next hard thing or what appears to be a hard thing, you go back to the comparison of the real hard thing. And he goes, "This is as hard as that? I went through that. I can get through this."
Love that.
Okay. And that's really what it is. So what that also taught me was start reading books of people who have done really hard things. Ernest Shackleton, trapped onto Arctic ice for 2 years, so 28 guys, brings them all home alive. That's kind of a hard thing. Okay, eating penguins and whatever. Okay, so like and I'm complaining about this, right? Like a tax, like I'm complaining about a tax issue.
My last sales call,
please.
Right.
Yeah. So it really strengthened me that way. You could always lean into that, like, well, this can't be that bad, if you have something to compare it to. So that's why doing hard things is so important.
How old were you when you figured that life lesson, takeaway, whatever, whatever you want to call it? How old were you?
I was probably about 27.
God, I wish I had figured that out younger.
Yeah.
That's awesome. At least you got to experience it young. I love that.
Right.
You can add it to your body of evidence, and all those bad days when you're like, I don't know, and there's no way I could, or there's no way I should even try. And it's like, well, hell, I did that. So that part is great, man. So what was it like for you professionally early on?
From a business standpoint, it was hard driving, whatever it takes. Okay, whatever it takes was the attitude. So you're young, you're single,
Okay.
I have a
Yep.
vision. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm building a landscape business now with water features.
Yep.
I'm building cool stuff.
Mhm.
I'm turning into this artist I didn't know I was.
Mhm.
And I started doing that. I'm like, well, there's no not doing it. I mean, it's just like in the core, there's no not achieving the mission.
Mhm.
You have to achieve the mission. No matter what it takes, you figure it out, right? You adapt, you overcome. Same thing in best. So I'm like, I just got to figure it out. I make money, I lose money. Okay, I won't lose money next time. I'll do this, I'll do this. So I
Okay. Yeah.
just kept I
Mhm.
kept moving forward with that and started doing really well and building and creating networks. I'm like, I just had to find a way to do this. I had to
Mhm.
find a way to do this, and so I think that that level of that ability to suffer
Mhm.
also created an ability to persevere and create the grit. I think that was kind of already in me, but it gets honed. You can create grit in yourself. It's not like you're born with it. It's just it's an accumulation of experiences
Mhm.
and what you do with them that creates grit, right?
Wow.
So it's really important to understand that everything that you go through is is the sum total, right? The
Mhm.
parts are the sum total of the whole. So how do you use all those parts to go forward?
Mm.
Right? How do you make that work for you? Like I'm
Mhm.
a very, very optimistic person for whatever reason. Probably could figure that out too why. But it really is because I overcame all this stuff. So why can't I just do it again and again and again? If I always tell people if I have a breath in me, I'm in the fight. So if I'm in the fight, then I have a chance to win.
The people around you back then, whether it was your family, you're single at the time, and as you say, and you're just like I said again, just throwing yourself all in. Colleagues back then when you're younger and all this, was that the crowd that you circulated or grouped up with or whatever? Was that unique to the group? Was it unique to you, that mindset?
I think it was pretty unique to me. I
Hmm.
kind of distanced myself from the family and stuff. We were not on the same mindset for that. A lot of people are very, they're adverse to risk, right? They don't
Sure.
like risk, but business is risk. It's
Hmm.
calculated risk, but it's
Hmm.
risk, and you got to take chances and work really hard and put in extra
Hmm.
hours and all that. So I found a new group of people, very
Okay.
successful people I was able to be around.
Hmm.
Actually at a club in Chicago, and some of the biggest money in the city and really
Hmm.
successful guys, a lot of self-made people. I got around them, and they're who like helped me be better, right? Show me the way and encourage me and like love, because successful people love to see other people get successful.
Yeah.
People don't think it's that way.
Yeah.
They think it's the other way. Oh, they don't. No, they care. If you had the effort, you
Hmm.
want to be no successful person going to tell you no. They're going to reach a hand down. They're going to pull you up.
Hmm.
They're going to cheer you on,
Hmm.
and they want you to be better than them actually, because that's the nature of the biz, right? That's the nature of entrepreneurship, is to do great things, in your own way.
Richard, the sense of everybody pulling together, is there any sort of commonality between that and say like whatever the group in terms of the Marines or what have you? Is there any sort of a similarity? Because what you just described felt way more than cheerleadery, and I agree with you.
Yeah, I think, you have brothers in arms,
Right.
right? So you're literally protecting each
Literally.
other's lives, right? Like
Yeah.
saving them and doing whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
That's, and the term is you've signed a blank check up to and including your life, right?
Mm.
That's the Marine Corps. So you're
Hmm.
willing to go all the way. In business, I really feel like people who are truly driven for whatever they're doing in the entrepreneurial space
Hmm.
are the same. They're going to sacrifice,
Hmm.
going to do this, but when you get around those people, it's that rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Right.
You're around people who also can lend, they're 2 years ahead of you. They're 10 years ahead of you. They're
Hmm.
40 years ahead of you. They can lend you that advice and that. Now, I wasn't super great at taking all that advice early on,
Hmm.
but being around them was enough to
Hmm.
like, wow, this is this, and you see what they've achieved and you're kind of in that circle like, oh, one day I can do this or I can be that. And that was a new brotherhood. It really
Nice.
was a new brotherhood
Right.
that being around these people. And so it was pretty fascinating, but I will say that was a huge directional change for me
Hmm.
being around them, because it gave me that inspiration
Hmm.
to continue. I knew what I could do and where I was going to go, but these guys like, okay, I'm going.
Hmm.
They did it. I can do it. So
Hmm.
that was where that went.
So as you're rolling along, right, and you're in one of the coolest, like I talked about before, I'm such a massive Chicago fan of this, and you're in one of the cooler places in the world. You're aligned with like I said, the right organizations, figuring you're doing all the right things, taking as much advice as you felt you needed at the time back then, you
Right.
take what you want, left the rest behind. And in terms of you're going on a roll. So you go through a stretch of time where you're quite successful. And what was life like for you as you are now, like I said, in say the first even couple decades, that it's like you've got a lot going on. What's your head like? What was your life like?
Yes, I was pretty proud of myself. Okay, so there's
I
a
love
lot
the
of
look in
ego.
your face. And folks, if you're not watching, I said just the fact that good, you should be, man, right?
But the ego is just getting inflamed. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean it's just going up. I mean I'm award winning. I'm winning these shows. I'm on the Mayor Daley's committees for Fountain Task Force. I'm building world class exhibits with my steel sculpture and.
Right.
And commissions from the Shed Aquarium. I'm doing all this super cool stuff. I'm making a ton of money. I'm creating new and innovative things. And then I get, I'm just floating. I'm just having a great time, going do what I want when I want, kind of thing, building this business. And it was pretty exhilarating. I'm like, well, this is what I work for.
In Chicago, of all places, too.
Yeah. So it was very exciting. And like, wow, I'm there. I'm in magazines. Wow, they did a 4-page spread on me in Practical Welding magazine. Like I'm a guy who taught himself how to weld, and now I'm in a 4-page spread in a welding magazine. You know what I mean? Because I'm doing this stuff. Like, wow, this is really. I can do anything. I pretty much felt I could do anything. Anything I want to do, I can do, and it was kind of cool. So that was a lot of fun. It felt really good for about a 10-year stretch.
Right. So what changed, man?
Well, the economy changed a little bit in 08, 09. So it kind of,
I know it.
Right. So it started to crumble.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I build luxury items. No one needs a water feature in their backyard. So November 5th of 2008, I lost $500,000 on that day. And it just kept going off the cliff from there. Everyone was holding on to their money. Everyone was terrified, the whole thing. Now, I always give this caveat. It wasn't the economy crashing that destroyed my business. It was what I didn't do in my business that destroyed my business. I was playing artist, front guy, making money, having a good time, building cool stuff. No one's watching the store.
You've described in other communications before, other podcasts and stuff like that. And I love the line, you don't watch your money, the money goes away. That it's like, it's funny to say as a joke, but I will say, or it sounded amusing the way that you say it with the smile on your voice. But what I would also add is this. So you were pretty much, I'm guessing, a one-man band. How many people were working for you at the time as you were rolling?
Only about 6 to 8, depending on the day. It wasn't a lot. So what I called myself, John, I was the special forces of water features.
I like that better than one-man band.
So I had the right equipment to get we didn't dig ponds by hand like a lot of guys did. I had mini excavators. We came in, we knocked them out in an hour.
Right.
We cut this. We had all the right machines. We had fixed grapples. I could do things that would take people a month. I'd do in a day. That's the kind of efficiency I built. That's why I use that analogy.
I love that. And I only asked it because that it's like sometimes there's at least the excuse, or I don't know if justification or excuse are the words I want, but at least the rationale of, well, for God's sake, you can't do everything simultaneously. It's the only reason I asked. That timeline, 08, 09, impacted everybody, and it impacted almost every sort of business. And I just, what I guess I'd ask you is this. As you say, like you use the term off a cliff. How quick, do you remember, did it feel all of a sudden to you that things just stopped, or were you just, goofy question, but I'll ask it, oblivious to what was going on?
I was not at the end of the day, November 5th, I hung up the phone with a client, the last client. I remember looking over my office manager and I went, it's over. I said, it's over.
Like that?
I'm like, it's over. Now we limped through the end of the year and a little bit into 09, but I knew like this, there's no way. there's no way there's no way we're gonna make it. So yeah, it was a pretty harsh reality. Now, when it was going to actually be over, was it 3 months, 6 months, a year? I didn't know that. I ended up bringing it to a close a little sooner than it probably should have or could have. Probably should have even sooner, but that was kind of an epiphany time for me. I can share that with you. So I had woke up one day and I'm thinking about my 6 little kids. They're like 4 and under, and
so
I come
we go
home
from single to 6 kids in this stretch of time, and married, family, 6 kids. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Voila. Poof, 6 children.
Busy.
And a wife. Yeah. So we got all that going on. So
Right.
but I realized, like, I come home late at night working, whatever, and they attack me. They love me. They love to see me. They jump all over me or crawl over to me or whatever stage they're at. And I'm like, well, that's really great. Then I'd leave early in the morning. And one time my son was chasing me down the driveway crying behind my truck because I'm leaving. And I'm looking at him in the rearview mirror and I keep going. Right. And I'm like, wow, I started thinking, this whole business first, business is everything, win everything, be number one, be published, win the award. I'm like, if I stay down this path, I'm going to destroy my children's future because they're going to have broken marriages, failed relationships. They may be successful at business, but everything else in their life is going to be horrible because they're too lopsided like I was. I was everything about that. So that morning I shut down, walked in the office. We're done today. Told my guys, same guy's been with me for over 10 years. I said, we're done, guys. We're going to wrap it up this week. Finishing the stuff we're on. We're going to wrap it up, letting all my customers know I'm not doing this anymore. Now, what are you going to do? I go, I have no idea, but I can't do this. It's going to, we're collapsing anyways. Let's just speed up the process. Let's fall on the sword right now.
Wow.
Let's just fall in and get it done. So that was a big deal to me, but it turned my thinking. So shutting it down, the one thing I knew, John, was I was not going to do what I had already done. Even if the economy picked up a year later, I was going to start a water feature business again. I was going to do metal sculpture again. I'm an all or nothing. I'm an all or nothing guy.
Okay.
Now, when I'm done, I'm done. So I sold everything, whatever I had, I could sell. I sold. We relocated. We're losing our house anyways. So we lost our house and all that. So things had really, like I said, it was going this way anyway. So relocated to another state, went from Chicago to Wisconsin, started over, didn't know what I was going to do. I had to figure it out.
What's your head like at this point? So, I mean, again, you seem like somebody who keeps a strong, a high degree of strength and also a strong good nature. What's it like with a family as opposed to you being belle of the ball, so to speak?
Right.
What's it like?
Yeah. So being the eternal optimist that I am did not go over real well with the family. My wife, it was difficult for her. All and women, they're about security. Number one. Okay. Like I'm good. I can live in a cave. I don't care. Right. But that's not my wife and kids. Okay. So,
and they don't sign up.
No, my wife came in when the business was good. My wife came in when the business was good.
There you go.
Now it's over. And now you got to start over. And if you haven't been through that process, buckle up.
Right.
That is to rebuild a new business is no easy task.
Oh, right? You're speaking to the choir, brother.
Right. So she's okay. I figured it out. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I train people a lot. I love to work out. I know fitness really well. I've trained everything from professional athletes down to kids. I said, I'll go be a trainer. So I went to Anytime Fitness. They needed a trainer. They had like kind of subcontracts, but I was the only one there. All of a sudden I turned that into like 40 clients a week. I'm killing it. I'm the best. Now, next thing you know, I'm trainer of the year for Anytime Fitness. Okay. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm pretty good at it. Well, as an entrepreneur, you know what that means, right? It's time to go up my own gym.
Sure.
So now I went up my own gym. I did a boot camp style training, created these really unique programs and blew this thing up and did all that. Started hiring trainers, right? Because I'm like, listen, I can't train everybody. I'm not going to get caught in what I did before. The business isn't going to own me. How do I do that? How do I have a business but maintain freedom? Right? How do I have a balanced life, the proverbial work-life balance? Right. How do you keep that and grow a business that's new and you've just created it? So I had to figure that out, and I did. Right. So I figured out, got that going. That went really good. Moved on from there into contracting. So doing roofing, siding, windows, gutters, all that stuff. That did really well. And at the same time, a lot of people were asking me, well, how'd you do that? How'd you go from nothing, losing everything, to doing that? I said, well, I went through the process with them, started helping them in a mentor position. Hey, just do this and try this. Have you done this? Walk through, that's really good. Then I started coaching people, because as I tell people, mentoring is free. Coaching, you get paid. Well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've got to be a coach. Okay.
So mentoring is not part of my website. So,
right. Yes, there's no M words on there except money. But so I did that. Then I was like, well, yeah, I want to write a book. I want to write a book about the whole story. So in 2019, I wrote Escape the Owner Prison.
Yep.
And that became a bestseller. That was awesome. And it was like my story weaved into how to do it right. And how to be a trades or service business, how to be a contractor and really be successful and still have your family love you, stay married, create all that. So I did that. That was great. Created an academy around that. Started coaching people officially, did some few other coaching gigs, really built it and turned it into Sharpen the Spear coaching. And like I've helped a bunch of people. Now our big movement is to help 10,000 business owners create freedom, profit, and impact in their business. Because I understand the trap. I understand what the prison is for new business.
What's the prison?
The prison is when you begin a business, you're going to work very, very hard. And there's no getting around that. Haven't figured out how not to do that. You're going to wear a lot of hats. You're going to do most of the things. You're going to build it. You're going to drive. You're going to sell. You're going to do your taxes. You're going to do all that great stuff. But the problem is, the pattern is, next thing you know, 10 years goes by and you've repeated the first 2 5 times. And that's why you're stuck. If you don't open the door, the business doesn't start. Everything is dependent on people and especially on you. You don't have systems. You don't have processes. If your office manager quits, you are in a world of hurt, because that person knows how to do everything. They send every invoice, they bill, they call, they set appointments, and they leave, walk out the door one day, or they go on maternity leave. Doesn't matter what they leave for. All of a sudden you're like, how do I do this and build everything and run the guys and, all the stuff that you think everything was going smooth, but it's all people dependent. So that's where that's the trap. That's the pattern. And that's what we now help guys get out of. So people can you can see that. And now they talk about work-life balance, John.
Right.
And that's what we call the 5 F's, right? It's faith, family, finance, fitness, and friendships. Okay. So you can balance those 5 things out. It sounds really good. Really sounds good when I say it. But you got this business that's a hot mess that requires you all the time. You are never getting to those other 5 things. You have to fix the business first. Get it systemized. Get it running itself. Get it so it doesn't need you all but for 5% of the business that only you can do. Other people are doing it, is running. People can be replaced easily. Fix that. Now you can focus on the 5 F's. But don't think you can have a hot mess and go work on the 5 F's. It's not going to work.
All right. So I will come back to that part of it, but I was curious. I've heard you speak more frequently, or at least more often, talking about faith. Where did that come in for you? Was that always a part of you?
No, it wasn't. It really was. It was after 0809. It was after the relocation. So mine is Christian, right? I'm a Christian. I believe believe in Christ. I'm a Christ follower. But I was also a Christian before that. But I call it a CINO, CINO, Christian in name only.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm born again. I'm not born again. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like I said, grew up Catholic. And so to me, I'm now I am very spiritual by nature. I'm
awesome.
not,
good.
I don't have designations. I just am always curious in regards to others.
Yeah, I grew up on Mormon. That's why when you made the comment,
I love that, because you alluded to it, and then I couldn't find the loop to come back to it, man. But I love. Okay, got it.
So I did it. I knocked on doors at 14 years old. I did all that stuff. We had missionaries live in our house.
The white shirt and the black tie.
The whole deal. Yep. The whole deal.
So just like Book of Mormon. All right, nice.
Right. But I left that at about 16, 17. I'm like,
Wait,
that's not happening.
You were joining the Marines.
But it was really like, I don't want to be here. I just went the way of the world. I didn't get to move into anything different. I just went, it's all me now. It's all me. So that was it. So the faith really came in kind of post-collapse. After that, I really started getting that when I understand that connection again with me, that relationship with Christ, building that, strengthening that, that's what changed everything for me. Because I took those priorities I knew I was missing, and they all started to make sense. And I had I'm air quoting, a biblical reason to do that. I understood now there's purpose behind that. So that's what really began to propel me. And I dug into that. That became a huge part of my life, and it still is. We homeschool our children so I could raise them with a biblical worldview. So we did that from the very beginning all the way through, and it's worked out wonderfully. So for us, it's been great, right? So that's really where the faith part comes in. That's why I say it first, because it is number one.
I got you, and I appreciate that. So when you homeschool your kids, do you have to buy 6 desks and 6 apples and 6?
No, we have a 10.
I know more than one person other than you in my world that homeschools their kids, and I'm always fascinated by this. I got to tell you, I don't know that I agree with it at all. But I want to learn more, because the things that I was so wildly in disagreement with, I question me sometimes too.
Sure,
so I don't point fingers. I'm just always curious.
Yeah.
Why would you homeschool your kids?
Okay. So the reason why was, again, I wanted to develop their character. I didn't want the state or anyone else to develop the character of my children.
Okay.
I don't want to give them to the state for 8 or 10 hours a day, plus sports and everything else, and have all that influence. Then I get to see them in between homework, because they send them home with 2 hours of homework too. So they literally own your child. They're in your home. This is my view. Okay. But I wanted to develop their character. I did want them to have a biblical worldview. I wanted to bring them up in that so they understand what that actually means. I want them to become people. I want them to be around people who are not their age. Because to put a 10-year-old in a class with 30 other 10-year-olds, how much is my 10-year-old going to learn? Nothing. Because there's a bunch of other 10-year-olds who know exactly the same stuff. They're not going to expand my child's thought process, exposure, anything else. So I want to be around kids who are 14 and 16 and adults who are teaching, and we're teaching. I want to go on field trips all over the place and expose them all this great stuff, right? So that was part of it as well. Again, being around them, it's not, hey, they don't get socialized. My children are far more socialized than any public school kid ever would be, because they're engaged with people of different ages. They have to converse. They deal with adults all the time. Again, they're exposed to my kids have been up and down, coast to coast, top to bottom of the U.S. We've done incredible field trips. Took the whole Route 66, the old road, all the way out to California. Did a 40-day road trip with 6 children. Do that.
What's the age range?
Okay, right now, I have a 19, 2 18s, 2 17s, and a 16.
All right, so real close. I mean, they're not all
three
exactly the same.
There's a 3.5 year gap total.
Productive. That was when you talk about your time management skills, I'm understanding a little bit better now. Thank you for that clarification. So now I want to come back to that. Helps me, and I respect it. But what I was going to ask you was, so you're talking a moment ago before I decided to go down Route 66, but I decided you got to fix the business first. If it's a hot mess, So then my question becomes this: what if you're some guy and you've got, I don't know, 6 kids? And you homeschool them, so they're all around, and we're doing 40-day road trips. Help walk me through. How are you managing time or helping others to do so? Because that just feels like a monumental use of your time. And where the hell would there be any other opportunity to do anything other than watch, school, entertain, raise, travel with the kids?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, you don't do it by yourself. Okay. I have an incredible wife.
Great.
Okay. So full transparency, from homeschooling, I taught PE and art.
Well, you're an artist, and you're a artist guy, so you played your strengths.
But she did all the hard stuff.
Okay.
Math, reading, everything. So I came in for the fun.
You're the gym teacher.
Unless I'm training you, then it's not so much fun. So but yeah, so I kind of did that. And when it's talking about earning, right? I'm building the business and everything. It's not like I'm not a stay-at-home dad. Well, my wife was incredibly organized,
right?
Fearless, will take 6 children under 4 years old, happy to take them to the Botanic Gardens and pull them around in wagons,
Yep.
6-person wagon, whatever,
Yep.
and go anywhere,
Mhm.
anywhere with them, fearless. So that was a huge help. Right. So now I can still build a business, right?
Mhm.
Now we're going to travel. If I have a business going, well, okay, what does that look like? Well, I built the business
Mhm.
to run. People are in place. They work. They have keys.
Mhm.
They understand the system process. They know how to serve the customers. So they don't need me. Yeah, I can check in.
Yeah.
If there's a major problem, but I'm not calling every day to see if they burned the place down yet. It's built to run that way. That's how we create the freedom. So that's what happens. What I wanted to be able to do, John, was if my wife called me at 1:30 in the afternoon and said, "Hey, I really need you home because of this, or this, or whatever might happen," I can just go. I don't have to tell her, "Well, I'll see you at 7."
Yeah, I can't, or I have to go ask so-and-so.
Right.
Or, right.
I just tell everyone I'm out. I'll see you. I'll be back. Call me.
Very
And I
dear
just
friend of
go.
mine, when she established her company, that was one of the things she said. She said, I think a lot of people are under the incorrect perception that when you have your own business, you work less.
Right.
She said, and she said nothing could be more false unless you immediately want your business to go under. She said,
Right.
you know what I mean? You can, but if you want it to work, she said, what's different though is if my son has a soccer game, I'm asking no one if I'm going, I just go. And I always like that part in terms of it's strategic, a strategic priority, so to speak. And I love the fact that you incorporate team with that too. When somebody comes from a coaching perspective, like I love the fact, not just do I love the fact that your company name is cool, the ability to create the freedom, the profit, the impact. If everybody's different, but if somebody is with you and they're just all, I don't know what is right, I don't know what is up, down, or sideways or whatever, what are some of the trouble spots that you can look for or at least direct people to in regards to a business? If you're an entrepreneur and you're kind of all up in it, how can you help somebody find that time, that freedom?
So there's a couple things we do first. The very first thing we do, I have an assessment. So we assess their business.
Right.
There's 12 areas in it. We know where they're at right now.
Mhm.
So what you need to know is, where is your business right now?
Mhm.
Like, what do you have systemized? What's not? And it's 159 questions.
Okay.
Yes, no. And they answer that, and then we build a roadmap. Okay. That's where we start. So they go, oh, then they prioritize. It doesn't necessarily go by lowest score.
Mhm.
It goes by their most priority, right? So we build that. And then from there, we create what we call a strategic vision. So the company needs to be vision driven, not mission driven, needs to be vision driven. So where do you want to go in the next 18 to 24 months?
Do you mind if I ask what's the difference between mission and strategic vision?
Yeah. So here's a mission statement. John Smith and Company is going to be the greatest in in 3 states. We're the best selling. Our customers are the most satisfied. We go above and beyond and blah, blah, blah. Right. That's a mission statement. And they hang it on the wall in the break room and it's wallpaper. People see it once and they never look at it again.
Yep.
The only person that mission statement serves is the owner's ego. Okay. That doesn't move anybody on the team to do anything. Why do they care? Why would they care? Okay. I'm an admin guy. I'm an HR guy. Why do I care if you're the best? I don't care. Now, a vision is where the company's going.
Okay.
And how we're going to get there, and how every single person throughout the entire customer journey from the first call till past the final delivery is the hero in that part of the journey. Without them, this doesn't happen. So now everyone starts to work for purpose, right? Because that's the number one thing people want. Money is like third. They're not driven by money. They're driven by purpose. Then they're driven by recognition and quality feedback. Are they doing a good job? Do you recognize that I'm busting my tail here to make your vision come? They want that. Then the money, right? The money's kind of right in there. Could be even fourth, right? But we really look at it that way. So if money's the number one thing, that means they'll sell you out for 50 cents an hour and go to another company because it's only about the money. They want to work for purpose. So you create the strategic vision that shows them where we're all going. Now everyone's on the same page, going to this place, fulfilling a strategic vision, fulfilling a purpose, right? So that's where we start. But then right after that, so we've got that. The next thing I look at, believe it or not, is going to be your sales, your pricing, and the value that you're delivering. Because most people are struggling in their business because they don't sell enough product or service at a high enough price.
Sure.
That's why they fail. And everyone undervalues themselves. You undervalue yourself. I undervalue myself. We all do. Yeah. And you and I probably both, I made a lot of money for what I did. People paid me a lot of money and still no one ever complained they paid me too much. They all said they didn't pay enough.
Yep.
And they paid a lot. So we all undervalue ourselves. So outside eyes, as me as a coach, will come in and say, why are you only charging for this? Do you realize what you make? Do you realize what this is? Do you realize you could do this, this, and this and 10x the value of this without costing you any more money? And you can make this much more. So you really have to look at there because income is the fuel for the economic engine, which is your business.
Right.
Right. So you have to fix that first. Otherwise, there's no point in doing the other stuff till you can identify that problem. And then you begin the systemization process around that and through the rest of the business. So people understand where they're at in their lane. When people come on as an employee, they have skills. They may not have exactly what you want, but you can get them up to speed in their competency for your company. But then they can run with the ball to the goalpost. If it's all a mess and they don't know their boundaries, they don't know their expectations, they don't understand consequences, how can they effectively play the game? How can they run with this? They just can't.
It.
Yeah.
So as a coach, in terms of the amount of time so many people that I've spoken with, or just my observations, or me personally, dismissed the idea that you would need to spend a large amount of time with your team because you were just so busy. How were you able to blow up that perception? I'm not saying I agree with that perception. I'm simply saying that a lot of people are like, I just don't have the time. I can't, set the boundaries. And it's, in a way, it's almost similar to my homeschooling question, but with grown-ups and adults and all that sort of thing. How are you able, or how do you coach others, I guess is a better way to say it.
Yep.
How do you coach others to navigate their time as opposed to just telling them, just go do it? How are you able to do that?
Yeah. So you come in and I'll tell you, so out of all the owners I've talked to and worked with,
right? If
you ask them, okay, you do believe you should systemize your entire business, right? It'd be a good thing. Everything, they go, yes, 100% will say yes. And then he asks, well, are you ready to do it? And you're going to get 100% no. I'm not going to do it. They don't have the bandwidth. They're already doing too much stuff. Right. You think they're going to actually break down every position, all the job functions, how they do it, they're not going to do that, are they? That's why it doesn't get done. They don't have the bandwidth to do it. It's not their fault. It's actually not their job. Unless you're beginning from the very, very start and you think you can build it out and you know what to do, that's different. But you're 5 years in, 10 years in, not happening.
No.
So what I learned as a coach, in the beginning, you'd say, okay, let me show you how. And I work with them and like you get some of it done, it doesn't, then it peters out, and then they get pulled this way and that way. I'm like, that's when you realize, okay, I'm working with the wrong guy. Okay. So I'm not firing the client. I'm in someone's business. I don't need to work with you. I need to work with that person. Oh, look, office manager. I'll work with that person. I will show them and coach them and direct them to systemize their entire lane. I'll show them exactly what to do. I'll give them the resources. Let's build it. I'll hold them accountable. Knock that out. Okay, who's next? Oh, look, a site foreman. Okay, let me work with him. Let me build out site. Now consult with the owner. Show them the progress. Do you agree? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to finish this up and I'll bring it back to you when we're done. And all of a sudden they have a lane, they understand their boundaries. You have all this stuff. You have strategic goal setting where they get rewarded for building this. So they're actually going to build out this systemized lane of their own, but they're also going to get rewarded for it. They're not doing it for the same $60,000 a year you're paying them. There's a big lump sum bonus at the end of the systemization. Now they have buy-in also, right? Now they literally built it. They got rewarded and they did this. That creates more retention, right? But now they can run with the ball. Right. So we, as a coaching company, we dial all these people in and get it done. And then the owner simply puts the stamp of approval on it. Maybe he tweaks this and that, right? He's like, listen, now all that's going, now we come back, we're at the same time, we're going, what is your 5% owner? The 5% of things in this business only you can do. That's vision. That's market share. That's reeling in the big clients, right? That's what you need to focus on. Because if all this can run and you now 5% will take you from 60, 70 hours a week to about 15 or 20. Okay. Guess who just bought his time back?
Right.
Now he can go to every soccer game. Yes, he doesn't have to ask anyone, but he also literally has the time. He's not going to be late. He's not going to miss Johnny's first goal, who he scored in the first quarter or half or whatever they play in soccer. Right. So it's like,
whatever. Right. But I was going to say, but the guilt that most entrepreneurs, or I won't speak for them, many entrepreneurs, business leaders feel either comes from missing the first goal, I'm making these things up, you know what I mean?
Right.
Missing this event or missing their
play, right?
Whatever,
whatever
whatever blessed event. I say with such I'm sorry, I don't have kids, like a drip of sarcasm, but it's really or the guilt to the person you work for, your shareholders, stakeholders, whatever. It's you're feeling guilt somewhere along the line. So if you can contribute to a more guilt-free life, that something is not coming back and haunting you afterwards, well, then there's something really positive about that.
Right. I think it's important that people know their boundaries, know the expectations they have, and they know the consequences. The big thing people don't do is create consequences. They kind of understand outcomes. Like here's a real quick analogy of an outcome. So part of your job expectation, your job function is to empty. You have a lobby, you come in, you're the front desk person, you have a trash can there. That needs to be emptied daily. Okay. So what's the outcome if they don't empty the trash can? Is it the trash can didn't get empty? Is that the outcome? No. The outcome is you got overflowing trash. Someone comes in the lobby. They see an overflowing, messy lobby when they come in. You've just tarnished the reputation of the company. That's the outcome of you not taking out the trash. A simple thing that takes 2 minutes to do. You've tarnished the reputation of the company, which in turn can lead to the end of your job, because that and other things could actually cause the demise of the entire business. Loss of sales, and it can snowball, right? Because if you don't empty the trash, what else are you not going to do? I can do this, and then you're not going to do that. And everything's going to start to be compromised. And that's when you see the business kind of collapse on itself. So we look at the outcomes, but the consequence, if you don't empty the trash, what is that? That's what matters. Is it one warning you're out? Is it 3? Is it written, verbal, hand slap, whatever it is, right? They know what it is and it's followed through on, right? And that goes for every position in the company.
As a business leader and someone who has had more than a hand slap in their life, you know what I mean? Like way more. Like, what do you like in terms of, are you a tough, like what's it like? Because I guess in my life or whatever, that I'm a big believer in authenticity. One of the reasons he gravitated was the conversations I had with you prior. And so you've had a number of positive outcomes, a number of them, a series of negative outcomes. You've had yourself in challenge, as you described them. Oh, this was challenging and that was challenging. I mean, and often by brute force. As you're dealing with, and they're not kids, so it's different than what are the boundaries of your children. What's it like for you? What are you like in terms of, it's one thing to say them. How do you get people to buy in, as you can't fire everybody?
Right. So I am not the person I used to be.
What do you mean?
Okay. Because back in the day, first business, I was hardcore. Okay. It's produce or die. Okay. Or get out.
I'm sorry, produce or die.
Yeah. It's just you get it done or you're not on the team.
Okay.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, you're dead. You're dead to me, as the saying goes, right? So I was pretty much like, wasn't really into mistakes. Like you maybe could have one, you repeat it again, you're finished. I was very much, we get stuff done. We're very results driven.
Yeah.
We have time schedules. We're sticking to them. We're again, part of my Marine Corps attitude.
Sure. That's what I'm asking.
And so I did that for many, many years. Like, so I was looking for people who could deal. Can you deliver? Can you get this done? Right. No excuses. Stay if you have to, whatever.
Right.
As I evolved, as I got to phase 2, right, post 08, 09, started looking at things, started looking at people, and kind of really my heart softened, was part of it. Like, they are human beings. Yes, I think I can say I've made a few mistakes myself, not saying that no one ever helped me or anything, because they did and they didn't, and whatever, that's part of life. But like, what am I doing wrong that they continue to make a mistake? So I started to look at, really, I still took ownership of it, but I wanted to know, if they mess up once, I get it, right? But they did it again, and then they did it again, and then I'd fire them. Okay, but why did they do it 3 times? What didn't I do? And it wasn't because I didn't yell at them enough.
Right.
It's like they didn't have incentive. They didn't have instruction. It wasn't very specific on exactly what was expected of them. How far could they go or not go? And if they did do this, what exactly would happen? Who cares if you tell someone don't do it again? Is that a consequence?
No.
Right? Like, okay. That's what you're going to say. They're going to do it again. I mean, my kids will do that to me. I mean, it's no different, So there has to be a legitimate consequence. So I started creating consequences. Like, well, what does this mean? This way it's an accountability aspect, right?
Right.
You have to hold people accountable. You can't operate if people don't have accountability.
Of course.
Right. I know it's obvious, right, John? But it's not, it's not obvious.
Right. But it's not obvious. So it's like, that's one of the things that I wonder if folks, if you're listening into or watching in 2024 or whenever beyond, I'm always curious about that, because I remember that from before I was in corporate, and I was in corporate up until 2019. And I just remembered that there was such a major change, and I sometimes found it very challenging. That's why I'm pressing it, because I said so is foolish, let alone ineffective. Now you're like building consequences. How do you get it to matter to somebody, or is it simply a matter of you simply just have to keep looking for the right people?
You can't just keep looking for the right people, because then you have a people-driven business, which sounds cool on the outside. We have a people-driven business. Well, you don't, because everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't. Okay. You need a system business driven that you put great people into.
Okay.
Okay. So that's good. So if a great person leaves, you get the next great person, and they can operate right away. They're not there to figure out your business and make it good. You have to already have it built. They have skills and competency you can drop in. They can run hard and achieve it. They're great at sales. They don't want to build your sales department. They want to come and sell and close and make money. And the benefit to you is they sell, close, and make money. So they make money. It's a win-win, but they can just keep doing that because you built a system they can operate in, right? So the consequence thing is important. Like, do you have to tailor, like, oh, he's only motivated by gifts. He's motivated by this. You don't do that, because now you're tailoring a system to a person. You don't put systems around people. You put people in the systems.
Got it.
Right. So you need to have a general consequence, and they should be staged consequences, right? Like something's minor. Okay, listen, this X is going to happen. Okay. You won't be able to do this, or something will be eliminated. Maybe you're on a bonus structure. Okay. This consequence,
okay.
you're going to lose part of that bonus. Now, the bad part about that is most people are not money driven. And when you take something out of a bonus, it's a bonus. So it's extra. It doesn't affect their regular pay. It only affects their bonus. So like, oh, that's.
And if they're not going to get their bonus, well, then it doesn't affect anything.
Exactly. Right. So the consequence is misplaced. Right. Like you think that's a good thing. So you have to get into the role and what they do. Maybe they have access to something as their role. Oh, they have a company credit card, or they do this, or they have access to this. Well, you're going to lose that access for a period of time. Right. It's going to be things that kind of make their day go well, and you're going to remove that.
Got it.
Okay. So it's like you're going to really find something that kind of stings.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that has to sting a little bit, just a sting, the first
Mm-hmm.
one. Second one, it's going to be at the hurt portion. And third one, you're going for trauma treatment. Okay. You got to find a new job. Okay. Because you're out. All right. But they understand when they reach the hurt part,
Right.
it's like what did Mark Twain say? The cat that jumped on a hot stove never again jumped on a cold one. Okay. So it's that kind of thing, right? They look, okay, I'm not going to do that again because that kind of hurt. Right. So, and that can vary depending on the job, but you just have to be creative in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Not ridiculous. Like, don't be, first offense can't be like, hey, you're going to pay for that. I'm going to take $300 out of your check, because that doesn't go over well in court.
Oh, I was going to say.
They will take you to court, and you're not just going to pay them the $300.
Mm-hmm.
Pain and anguish and blah, blah, blah. You're going to end up paying thousands. It's just, so you be smart.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing this, like, be smart.
You said something earlier, and there's a couple more things I'd love to know. One of them is simply, I just a reinforcement to what you just said. I want it repeated as much for me as for everyone watching and listening, which is, as you talked about, you don't build the systems around, you build the systems, and then you hire the people to plug into the systems. I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yes.
Because I feel that is so impactful, and I would imagine if you do it, when you do it right, that there must be an ease in the minds of not just you as the entrepreneur, but those that are getting plugged in. Yes. There must be a sense of freedom, and you talk about freedom so much. Right. Am I saying it right?
Yes. So it's people into systems, not systems into people.
Yep.
All right. So you're not going to build something around this great person that they can operate in.
Mm-hmm.
They can do that by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're a hostage. Okay. As an owner, because as soon as that person leaves, you're
done. The office manager that just quit. So
systems that you can plug people in, right? And there's the what they do, there's how they do it, then there's the training how they do it. Right. So that's all the three components of building that out. And you're exactly right. When someone comes in with any level of competency to a position they've done before, customer service, office manager, foreman, whatever it is, they're bringing that. Now, you want them to do it the John Duffin way. Yeah. Right. They okay, great. That won't take very long to figure out. Mm-hmm. That's a couple little tweaks. You already know it. Great. You get them up to speed in a week. Yep. But now they can run. Mm-hmm. They can come to work. No one wants to come to a mystery job.
No.
Oh, what's going to happen today? What if they do? What's the boss going to throw at me today? He's going to come in. So-and-so from marketing and come over here and just slap to somebody. We don't play that. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's not how the business runs. No one wants to come to a job like that. All they'll do is spend all their time on LinkedIn looking for the next gig. Okay. On your dime, they'll do that because you made it a horrible place to work. They can't succeed. They don't know what success is. What does success look like in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year? Mm. How do you measure it? How do they know they're succeeding? If they don't know, they're in blind. Mm-hmm. They're working blind. There's no purpose there. That's, again, part of that strategic vision we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah, oh, sure.
It's critical, right? Now they know what success looks like. They get to achieve it every day. Imagine being successful every day. You'd feel pretty good, right?
Right.
And you'd probably want to come back tomorrow. And you probably get there early to sip a little coffee and go, Here we go. Another day of success.
It's going to feel great.
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
First of all, I will acknowledge you in a moment, but I wanted to know especially because the way that you've chosen to share your experience in the sense of not everything going a straight upward trajectory, the resilience, how you say you've changed as it regards to being a boss, and even the way that you're with your kids and all that sort of thing like that. If I asked you now, how would you define authenticity as it relates to yourself now, with everything you've gained, lost, gained back? When you're at your most authentic, what do you like?
Yeah, I think I'm a relatively understanding individual. I have a greater level of understanding. Now I want to use the word empathy, John, but I'm like maybe not anymore, but I was always like a 0 on the empathy scale. I had none. Okay. Really. And that's not a good thing. That's kind of how I was. So I've crept up a couple numbers
Yeah. Okay.
on the empathy scale because I started looking at people differently. Like everybody's messed up.
Mhm.
Okay. Everyone's got their issues. And I see that now. Perfection's not a thing that I work towards being the best I can be, but I don't ever expect perfection because it doesn't exist. Right. But I understand the strive for it. So I have a different compassion for people now, and I understand how they can actually work better. That's what's different. Before it was my way or the highway.
Well, what was it? Sell or die, or produce or
Right.
die, or
Yeah, exactly.
harsh.
So,
But
right. That's how it was, right?
Yeah.
Like don't drink more than you sweat because we don't take bathroom breaks. Okay. So I mean it's just I don't do that.
That's why
Like,
I'm
yeah.
asking. Don't
Yes,
drink
that's
more than you sweat.
so I don't do that. But I see
Good.
people differently.
Mhm.
And what I realized was not just do I see them differently, how do you create for the average, okay, a person who wants to everyone wants to do well at what they do. No one wants to be a slacker. No one wants to be whatever, a poor performer. They really don't. They may be one, okay, but anyone, if I build it right, it's only going to attract the right people.
Mhm.
And producers want to drop in and do their job. How can I make it so they can succeed? Why am I hogging all the success? Why is my wall full of trophies and accolades and everything else? And these people like get a paycheck every week. That's their trophy. I'm like, man, I'm messing this up.
Right.
Yeah, I got to change the way I think. Like we all need to win, and I get it. We all have different abilities. We all win differently in different things. But how do I create it that way? So that really was the big change that I am now. Same thing with my kids, John.
Mhm.
6 kids. They're all different. One's in the Marine Corps now. Okay,
You were saying
he's
the
a
missing
boxer.
training, right?
Right, he's all that stuff. So he's in Quantico now. He's doing great.
Mhm.
My other kids are working. One's CNC operator. One's in shipping. The other one does car wash stuff. Another one works at Culver. But they're working on cars. They're doing it, but they have plans to do things.
Okay.
One wants to be financially independent by the time he's 24. Okay, that's
fun.
been his goal for a long time,
That's
and he's working
fun.
towards that goal. Another one wants to create businesses. Wants to do that, so he's in working with me, and we're doing different things. He doesn't do my business, but he can create his own. So I'm all about empowering them to do what they want to do.
Mhm.
They don't have to go to college. They don't have to do this. It's like, again, part of the homeschool thing,
Right.
you get to individually train your children. You see their strengths, their weaknesses, you can enhance those. They're not trying to fit in one mold. So we could, you really like to eat. He really likes to read. Okay, we're going to read a lot. He doesn't have to stop reading in 45 minutes. You can read for 3 hours. Totally cool. We'll get to math later, right? It's okay. So you don't want to stop someone cold in the middle of their learning. If my son is killing it in math, no bell's going to ring and make him stop.
You mean at the 50-minute mark? Not that I remember any of that
Right,
stuff, right?
Right. It says get up, go out, turn left, go turn left again in the next classroom, bell rings, sit down, go have your lunch, sit down for okay, I'm not bringing my kids up like that. That's the antithesis of who I am. I understand freedom, but I also understand liberty, right? The difference with freedom and liberty. I want them to understand both so that they can conduct themselves that way as adults.
One more question on that, because I'll just ask it, which is the reason I was concerned in the past. And again, not having kids, I have no skin in this game, right?
Sure.
But it was like, but really it was more of the sense that you talk about freedom and whatever, and I thought of it as restrictive, that you'll read only these books or what I believe, or what matters to, and I don't mean just me, I mean of the family unit, right? And you won't learn any of that stuff, and you won't learn, I don't want any of that, and you use the choice of words, which like I said, it resonates, which is, well, I'm not going to have the state, which sounds so severe. However, again, being a product of Catholic school education, which was, I'll just say, fine. And there was, and the restriction there was everybody learned exactly the same thing in exactly the same way at exactly the same pace. How are you able to keep minds open? I love when you just said, I'm not going to cut one of my kids off if they're a nut for reading and when they want to read for 3 hours. That does sound free, and that sounds great. How are you able to do that so that they see a sufficient
It's
part of the landscape?
2 words.
Mhm.
Critical thinkers. I create critical thinkers.
Okay. How?
Because when we look at things, we ask questions about them. If a commercial comes on TV, I said, well, what do you think about that commercial? What do you mean? Well, what are they really saying? Is there an agenda behind this? What are they pushing? What are they really getting at? Why do they really want you to stop doing this and do this? Why is that? Is that really necessary? Ask these questions and walk through it. And when they start doing that, that becomes a habit. Now they see things through a critical thought lens. They're able to logically walk through this and understand where things are coming from. Now, they may or may not come out with the right conclusion, but they have a process to go through. Like you take reading, my oldest son struggled learning reading. Kids even made fun of him because he was hard. But guess who all of a sudden learned how to read and now devours 700-page books every week?
Right.
Okay. And whatever he wants. And he writes. He's a creative writer. He reads, whatever the science fiction genre, he reads that stuff. It's not like, hey, it's Bible only. This stuff, it's not
Did you
bad.
think
It's
that's where I was going?
Right. No, but it's not, but we're also not, we're also not reading porn. Okay.
But
we're not
thank
doing
you.
that.
Well, there you go. And by the way, thank you for that clarification. I always wondered that. I mean, I did. And I, and the other, of another person, they're pretty wide open, and I've watched them with his kids and stuff, and they're pretty wide open. And so maybe the sense of the freedom restriction and all that sort of thing, I just think sometimes I just want to know. Yeah,
it's a common misconception. The number one thing you always get, oh, they're not socialized. And that's like the first thing that comes out of anyone's mouth.
Yep.
They're not, how are they going to get socialized? I'm like, we have 80 kids on the homeschool cross country team. 80 children. That's pretty socialized.
I'm
and
assuming
all the parents are there.
Homes involed. You don't have to house 80 kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, right. So there's all these people. There's co-ops. There's other people teaching our kids.
Okay.
This guy's a professor, and he comes and teaches this class for the homeschool kids because he has that. So, and again, you're meeting people. You're out in public. You're going on. We on more field trips than any school could ever do.
That's amazing to me.
We're at arboretums. We're bird watching. These guys are teaching us about. There's a bird rescue place. We're at a lion sanctuary. They're talking to the owners, and they're walking them through, and the kids are asking all these incredible questions because they can. They're taught to think and ask. Well, how come the lion's here? Why is it so fat? They're asking like good questions.
Back to the Marines.
Right? My little nails. Everybody go,
I
wouldn't say that to the lion's face.
Watch if you're doing that to one of the lions.
But they tell them they're in a sanctuary. They don't get extra. They get this. We feed them straight meat. That's really cool.
Richard, that means a lot to me. Just the sense that I think even your choice of the 2 words, critical thinking, I think asking questions and allowing questions to be asked is a great thing. I think that is freeing in itself.
Yep.
Ask the questions, and then you never know where the answers are going to take you. I really appreciate you showing up for me today, man. I'm very grateful that you made the time, the effort, and it's a powerful lesson. And so I know we can reach you at sharpenthespearcoaching.com. That link will be in this bio. So folks, just look and you will find it. Where else do you want to send people?
Actually, I like sharpenthespearcoaching.com, but I'd like to do one thing for your listeners.
Please.
I have a special gift because I'm on your show, and this has been awesome.
Thank you.
If they go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com,
right.
Go to my contact page, hit contact on the navigation bar, send me a 1-sentence email that says, Richard, heard you on John's show. I'd love to get a free copy of the audio version of Escape the Owner Prison. And I'll send it to him.
Okay. You didn't need my side effects in that as well, too. So if I heard it correctly, we're going to Sharpen. We are going to sharpenthespear.com. I'm sorry, sharpenthespearcoaching.com. We are going to where? I've got the page open right now.
The contact page. So click contact. and just fill in your name, email address, and in the message say, I heard you on John's show. I'd love to get the free copy of your audio version of Escape the Owner Prison. And you'll get the whole book with me reading it. You get to listen to me for like 2.5 more hours. What's better than
God. Listen, you got a great voice. You sound good as well, too. And the authenticity part is really powerful to me. Richard, thank you so much for showing up. I meant it. Richard Walsh, folks, is here. Well worth a follow. Take advantage of the offer. And also, I thank all of you for showing up for us. Cheers to another episode of Your Message Received. Keep watching, liking, telling your friends, and we'll keep driving content through your front door. Have a great rest of the day, folks. Be well, and we will see you soon. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.